Suzanne Mitchell in one of their USO tours, and like I mentioned in the last part, she was almost killed on one of them. But they've always worked with veterans. That did not stop her because, again, this woman is made of steel. But she was going to be leaving soon. So 1989, 10 years after their first USO tour, Jerry Jones acquires the Dallas Cowboys from Tramel. And Suzanne Mitchell did not like him at all. I was going to find a nice way to phrase that, but she just didn't like him. He wanted to create a whole new era for himself, or that's what Suzanne thought. He was trying to make a lot of changes, and she was not down for that at all. And neither was Tramel, really. Apparently, he was kind of annoyed while he was like transitioning that he was firing everyone and trying to make all these changes, including to the cheerleaders, which was not going to go down well. So although Suzanne didn't want to abandon the girls, like I said in a previous one, she loved them. They were like her children. She protected them with her life, even though she was quite harsh at times as well. She didn't want to leave them, but she also did not want to stay with Jerry Jones. And she didn't want to stay with Jerry Jones more than she didn't want to leave them. So she left. And a lot of the girls left too. So Jerry Jones had some new ideas for the girls. Basically, he wanted to change almost everything. First of all, he wanted them to work parties for the athletes and private parties. And they weren't even allowed to talk to the athletes before this. And he wanted them to be in beer commercials. They weren't even allowed to hold drinks before this. And the private parties thing, they also, a lot of them said was kind of creepy. And they said that they felt like he was looking at them as if they were just these idiot bimbos, which we established in the last part. They do not feel that way. They have their own lives. They're not just girls for show and tell. They're real women with real lives. But most egregiously, he wanted to change their uniform. This iconic outfit, he wanted it to be a halter top and booty shorts. Give me a break, Jerry Jones. So 14 cheerleaders quit. And Suzanne was so proud of them. As I am, because F that. But besides the 14 that quit, all of them resisted the changes and the uniform stayed. Nice. Classic. And now it's time to get into the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders today. Yay. Even though I love these vintage photos, but we're going to move on to present day. So after Jerry Jones acquired the team and Suzanne Mitchell left, Kelli Finglass took over her place and Judy Tramel became the choreographer. And who are these girls? Oh, it's Kelli Finglass and Judy Tramel. And let me show you them now. Here they are. So cute. I don't know if they're actually best friends, but in my mind, they're best friends, and I find it very adorable. So what would it be like to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader today? Well, they have practice Monday through Friday. Starts at 7 p.m., but you have to get there at least 30 minutes early. So you're looking at like 6:30. The practice lasts 3 to 6 hours, which now you can see how they have those flat abs because they're working out crazy amounts. And you have to arrive and work out with a full face of makeup on and hair fully done as well. This look right that I've got going now would not fly. And you have to go to every single practice for all of the rehearsals for all 50 of the songs and dances, or you will not be performing in the show on Sunday. Now, say that you do go to all the practices, you do put in all that work. On game day, you're showing up 5 to 6 hours early. And the reason for that is that they have a lot of appearances and performances on game day. It's not just the halftime show. It's not just the football game. There's a ton of other stuff that they do. And by the end, after the meeting that they have after the game, it's like a 12-hour day for them, which is insane. What's crazier is that they all have jobs other than this, because this doesn't pay that well, which we'll talk about later. But seriously, I can't even fathom the amount of stuff that they're doing in a day. Like, I can't even find the time to do basic things, and I don't have anything going on. So like, how are they fitting it in? I would love to know. And for the TV show that they're on now, it's exactly the same, except they also have to wait around for interviews, for meetings if they're in trouble, for the judges to deliberate, and they can be up until like 3 a.m. and they're not getting paid for that. They don't get paid for that time. But again, we'll talk about that in a minute. And unfortunately, the other thing that you might have to expect if you're on this team, or probably any other NFL cheerleader team, is quite a bit of unwanted attention from fans at times. So what do you do if you're Dallas Cowboys cheerleader and someone's making you uncomfortable? The first rule is be nice. Be nice to them. Kill them with kindness. Tell them to get their filthy hands off of you in a nice way. Always be polite and courteous. And that is the actual rule. And if you're not polite and courteous, you will get kicked off the team. So that might have seemed like a bit before that I was doing, but it's not, it's real. A lot of them also have to sign non-disclosure agreements, NDAs. That's not just the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm sure they're not the only team that has problems with harassment. But it does make it a lot harder to report those kind of things when you're in an NDA and when you're being told that you're easily replaceable and that a million girls want your spot. And there's no good way for me to transition this, but we're going to start talking about the TV show now. Sorry, went from really heavy to lighter. It's actually not that light, but we're going to talk about the TV show. So the show has been going on quite a while. I was actually surprised. I didn't realize it had even been going on that long. But it shows you the entire audition process, everything that it takes to become a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. And they start with a lot of girls and they narrow it down to 36 that make the team. And it reminds me a little bit of American Idol because, you know, they show all of the really talented girls, but they also show, you know, at the beginning, lots of fail videos. They do backstories of some of the stronger contestants, especially when they're emotional. There's a lot of crying and getting rejected. It's very American Idol-like, but if American Idol was for a really intense cheer squad instead. And even girls who have already been on the team, they're considered veterans, they still have to re-audition. According to Kelli and Judy, it prevents mediocrity, and they are harsh with them. It is not guaranteed that they will make it at all. And they consider the way that they behave during the season too, particularly punctuality. I have seen quite a few veterans cut for punctuality, or just not seeming like they're as into it. But they by no means are guaranteed a spot. And the veteran cuts are usually like some of the most emotional, especially because if you think about it, a lot of these girls moved across the country for this. It's like their dream. They moved for it. They met a bunch of friends. And then they get cut in front of those friends, in front of those coaches, and have to uproot their lives again and go somewhere else. So before they even get to training camp, they have prelims, semis, and finals. And basically, they give them choreography to learn. They do tricks. And then the finals, they also do a solo, complete with a costume. And they also have an interview round during that time. And at the end of it all, they narrow down to their training camp candidates, which is about 45 girls. And then those will get narrowed down even further to 36. And the premise of the DCC Making the Team show is about training camp mainly. So cuts go on all throughout training camp too, but their cuts are more personal. They're in meetings with them where they get cut. So they also learn all of the routines. This is their technical dance coach, Kitty Carter. She's very harsh, but she also has some really good critiques for them. She's helpful too. A lot of them actually go to her before the finals round, before training camp, so that they can get help with their solos and such. There's also a nutrition and fitness section led by Jay Johnson. In some of the seasons, he does like this whole boot camp thing with them, but basically the whole point of it is you need to be in tip-top shape, and we'll get into the appearance standards later. They also have an etiquette section where they learn how to handle like interviews, social media, etc. when they're cheerleaders. And then they do uniform fittings, which is a big day for a lot of the girls, a lot of tears because this is like their dream come true. Also a lot of tears because sometimes that's when they get cut. And they also do makeovers on all the girls, and they are expected to keep those makeovers and maintain them if they make the team. And some of those makeovers are drastic, and not all of them are that cute, if I'm honest. This is one memorable one where I just thought, She hated it, and I can't say I loved it. I thought she looked better before, but that was their vision for her, and if she made the team, that's what she needed to keep. They also pick show group during the training camp. They have separate tryouts for that, and this is the show group for 1 year. And they also are really harsh with them because they're more one-on-one. They start saying the insults that they're saying in whispers during the prelims and the semis and the finals to them, like, you've gotten heavier and you don't fit your uniform anymore, and you like, I can see you jiggling right now, that kind of stuff. It gets pretty intense. So Kelli has said that their ideal girl is her body's old pinup style, and the measurements they want for them is 36, 24, 36. And every time that I hear that, all I hear is Sir Mix-a-Lot going, haha, only if she's 5'3" in my ear. And they definitely have the expectation that these girls will arrive at their very thinnest, most fit version of them possible. And if they don't, they will criticize them relentlessly and talk about them having gained weight. They look stockier, they look heavier here, their waistline isn't flattered in this outfit, blah, 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 blah. And it's not just about girls being big. They also talk about them being in the streets. They also talk about them being too thin, too tall, too this, too that, and the other. Just everything that could possibly be critiqued will be critiqued on this show. And so this is Megan Pravden. She's one specific example of this because her DCC experience ended with uniform fittings. They said that she was just a stockier build for the uniform, so she couldn't be on the team. And this is by no means just a problem at DCC. Lots of dance teams and cheer teams have kind of unrealistic body standards. But Kelli specifically has said, there is no perfect body, but we will cut you if you don't look good in the uniform. By our standards, of course. And they also have specific standards of things that they look for in girls' bodies that they don't like. For example, if you have a line under your butt, if you have cankles, if, your thighs blend in with your butt, or there's just all these random things you have never even thought about on yourself until you watch this show, and then Kelli and Judy just pick you apart while they're picking these other girls apart. And if you do make the team, you are expected to uphold the physique that you had while trying out throughout your time on the squad, no matter how many years it is, whatever. That's what you're keeping. And Megan has talked about how she does think that it's going to be really damaging for girls later on who are currently on the team, and then when they leave, and they leave cheer, and they're not working out 6 hours a day, and they're getting older, how are they going to deal with their body image at that point when their entire lives they've been told that part of their worth is based on their appearance? And we're going to talk about the financials of being on the squad. And this is Erica Wilkins. She was part of the show group. She was one of the best dancers on the team while she was a member. And then after she left, she sued them for lost wages. So financially, this is how much they're making today. In the past, they made $15 a game. That's it. Nothing for practices. Now they make $8 an hour for practices. And then they have a flat rate for appearances. And normally it's $100 your first year, $200 your second, $300. It caps at $500 though. And show group also has a flat rate for their extra appearances, but it's $250 no matter how many years you've been in the team. And Erica, who said she was making $4,700 a year after taxes, which is nothing, realized that the mascot was making $65,000 plus. The mascot. Do these girls bring in more fans than the mascot? I'm guessing yes. She also said that they received no extra pay for the TV show, and the clock started and stopped when they were dancing. That's what they got paid for. That's what they got $8 an hour for. Interviews, waiting around for judges to deliberate, anything like that. They're not getting paid for that. And they could be there for hours on end. Not to mention the fact that they have to pay to keep up their appearance. So gym membership and hair salon and tanning salon and nails and everything. they have to pay to keep that up, or else they can't be on the team. So that's a whole nother thing, and they don't help them at all with that. They also have to pay for their uniforms to be washed, and they don't even get free copies of the merchandise that they sell, like calendars. They have to buy them themselves. Like, these girls are making nothing. And as Erica said very astutely, prestige doesn't pay the bills. Unfortunately, most of them don't say anything because they could be replaced. There's a million girls who want their spot, so if they're out of line or if they do something that the coaches don't like, they're kind of shit out of luck. And they're also never paid overtime, even though they often work more than 40 hours a week, according to Erica. That being said, there is a reason that girls keep on joining the team. Most of these girls have danced their entire lives, and this is their dream come true. And I'm so happy for them. If this is what they want to do and they're fine with the potential negatives, then that's awesome. There's potential negatives to everything, to be fair. But that's the end of the series. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Comment suggestions for my next series below, but I do have one coming up. That's exciting. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment any additions you might have or any thoughts or opinions. I'd love to hear them, as well as any series suggestions or new video suggestions in general. And if you want to see more of me and more of my series, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next week with another one.